The Mount Moon Review podcast, while a podcast about Pokemon, is not intended for children. You can expect some instances of adult humor, coarse language, and adult situations. Parental discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 38 of the Mount Moon Review podcast, the only podcast that has a tagline opening every single week except episode 38 because we forgot to come up with one until the very last minute. I am your host, the Razgrees, with my co-host, the Blue Up Gold Duck, coming at you with all the information you need to know about the world of Pokemon that happened in the last week in less than an hour. How the heck you doing, Duck?
Pretty good. I had a gaming-filled weekend.
You did?
And then, yeah, and now I'm back to work.
For the time being, it looks like. I mean, you pretty much, Pennsylvania's all but shut down now.
Yeah, everything's closing down around me, but the boss is adamant on continuing to work and continuing to get paid, and I'm all for that as long as it lasts.
And you don't get arrested.
Right. I am relatively safe. I work with a small group of, there's only 4 of us, so it's not like I'm, exposing myself to a lot of different people. We're in one guy's house. The guy lives alone. He doesn't do anything, so perfectly fine. I believe. I think I'm pretty low risk.
Pretty low risk. Unfortunately, I've had to working in government. I had to go around the day and check on a lot of places, make sure they're actually closed. Had to make sure that workers were actually at work, and then sending ones home that weren't being effective. It was just it was a day. It was a day. It's not one I'm happy with. So I'm looking forward to this podcast. This is my one outlet right now because either I am at work and being despised, or I'm here with you, Duck. Apparently. So you're keeping my sanity right now. It's pretty much your job at this point is to keep my sanity. Last night we recorded an episode of the Untitled Anime Show, which is our other show. And that's going to be available on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Just search for the Mount Moon Crew, and you'll find us, and you'll see our smiling faces. But let's delve into the world of Pokemon this week, Duck. Where do you want to start out at?
Let's start where we usually start, with video games.
Okay, let's go to the VGC. What you got for us?
We got a little bit of news this time. As everybody knows, the raid cycles have been constantly changing throughout the months, keeping what you can find, or what Gigantamax Pokemon you can find, pretty fresh. And now, until April 27th, we have Charizard, Duraludon, Copperajah, and Garbodor. And those are the last 4 Gigantamax Pokemon we haven't received in boosted raids yet.
Now, with is that the largest group we've had ever going on at one time?
I mean, we've had 4. 4 has been a pretty good number. Like, usually they'll do 2, and then shortly after that, they'll do 2 more. I don't know if they've ever added, 4 all at once. It's usually 2 sets of 2 that overlap in the middle.
But so also the fact that from data miners, we know what Gigantamax are in the code for the game now. And this pretty much wraps up everything that's in the current code.
Well, no, there's still Gigantamax Melmetal, but that's not distributed yet.
Right on. So that we could conceivably see that sometime before Isle of Armor. But the next big update, which I got to tell you, for an expansion pack that is still March, April, May, over 2 months away, I am seeing ad after ad after ad for Isle of Armor. It is ridiculous.
I haven't seen. I know the guys at GameStop are talking to me like, "Hey, you want that game? You want that expansion pass? And we know you like Pokemon."
And I'm like, I will never pre-order anything from GameStop ever again because you guys are going to disappear in the middle of the night with my money.
Yeah. I'm like, I got it, dude. Don't worry.
That and the fact that I'll just do it from my Switch and cut you out. I've never understood that. I've never understood the companies that try to sell you downloadable content in the store when you need the internet. So that means you have the online service. Why you wouldn't just? Whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah. The
But
only time is I've done that to like purchase like DLC for stuff, but only when I had store credit instead of spending cash.
yeah, which I
But
don't think.
last time I tried to do that, they didn't let me.
Say, I don't think they're allowing you to do store credit for digital content anymore.
They did not let me the last time, so probably not.
Yeah. So again, this COVID-19 quarantines all over the country may be the final death nail for some online or brick and mortar gaming stores. So one in particular has a red and white logo. So be careful with your pre-ordering and maintain social distance. Doc, stay out of there. That place is a
I'm
cesspool.
not.
That place is a
I'm not going,
cesspool.
don't worry. And probably one of the reasons you've been seeing some ads for the Isle of Armor is that there was a trailer that dropped last week. I think it was Thursday or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed us the attack animations of all three of the starter evolution Gigantamax forms.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's they're nothing special.
No, they're not. But they're again. I think that's part of their campaign is they're really trying to hype this up. They're trying to get pre-orders on the downloadable content, which makes very little sense to me as well, unless you're gonna have to preload. In which case, I'll do it closer to then.
Yeah,
because the
you
preload.
get a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. So the preloads typically come out. About 3 or 4 days beforehand. It's
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then you can download it all ready to go, and so it just activates whenever it's legal.
yeah, at like midnight that day you can jump in, providing it's midnight wherever. I want to say it for people in our area, United States wise. I think they go by Seattle's time. I think.
It's always different. I've had games where I'm ready to go, like on the hour that it's going to be legal, and sometimes it's legal at like 9 p.m. Sometimes it's not legal till our actual midnight. So it depends on the game, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think with all the Nintendo of America games, it's pretty much always been, I think, based in Seattle is what time they go by, midnight Seattle. But I could be wrong. I'm not. It's not as if I do a whole lot of those. I'm not a big fan of pre-ordering. I'm just not. And it's a new concept to me in a lot of ways because I'm usually not available on the days they release games. I'm usually working, folks, believe it or not. So, and I've had it where I've pre-ordered games, and if you don't pick it up the day that it releases, they go ahead and sell it. So, what was the point? And I'm terrified of the store just going under in the middle of the night and having a sign on the door with a middle finger saying, "Good luck!"
Yeah, that could happen.
It has happened. Maybe not with that particular chain, but we might see that happen. So, what else you got for VGC for us, Ducky?
I was just going to give a little description of all the Gmax moves.
Go right ahead. The stage is yours, if you will.
The text, the description of these is that they are stronger than most Gigantamax attacks, and they also ignore all effects of abilities that your opponent's Pokemon have. So in the trailer they showed the Rillaboom's attack being used on a Shedinja, which has the ability Wonder Guard, which means it's only affected by super effective hits. So normally it wouldn't knock it out, but it did in the trailer. So you'll be able to hit through like Flash Fire or Storm Drain with these attacks. And so Rillaboom's, it's Gmax drum solo. His drums get huge when he Gigantamaxes, and then the vines on his back like stand up like a Super Saiyan, and then they all have drumsticks, and he pounds on all the drums with like 6 different drumsticks.
I mean, we expected to have the big drum set. We really did. We expected that. We called it. But I mean, come on. It's getting a bit ridiculous.
Gmax Incinerate.
Spit it out, Doc. Spit it out.
Stands on top of a gigantic fireball with a rabbit face on it when he's Gigantamax, and then he just does a backflip, and then at the end of the backflip he kicks the ball of fire. It's called Gmax Fireball. And then
Why does it have to have a face on it?
I don't know. And then Inteleon's body stays the same size, but his tail gets really, really long, and he goes way up in the air. And then he
pulls out a rifle.
torrent of. Okay, but here's the thing about the animation that ruined it. I thought this was the only one that was fine. I was okay with it. It's got this giant torrent. His finger gun becomes a giant, it becomes a sniper rifle, and he's got this long torrent of water. You can see water moving in this, right? In this spear extension of his finger, and then he scratches his face, and he holds onto the thing, and then puts his finger back in it. He takes the barrel off, scratches his face, and then puts his finger back in.
So it's not just his tail then, it's his tail and one finger, which apparently becomes detachable.
I don't know. I was like, okay, he looks fine like that. And then he took the barrel off of his sniper finger, and I'm like, you ruined it. Good job. Congratulations. And that's G-Max Hydro Snipe is what that's called.
Oh, Lord.
I think it should have been called Stream Snipe.
That sounds better.
That would have been funny. But that's it for video game.
All right, so that takes us on into the TCG, and oh my gosh, did we have some ground shaking news on the TCG side? At least I think so, from a judge's perspective.
This is good. That I like almost every single rule they made. We're gonna go over the rule changes that they just implemented. Mostly just the changes, not stuff that's been in effect already. It's mostly stuff that's gonna make it easier for judges to judge and not have to worry about stupid things going on. It's like, hey, why would you do that? Oh, well, it wasn't in the rules that I can't. So,
yeah, they've made some adjustments for organizers, for judges, and they've made penalties more streamlined. Essentially, what I believe. So let's start at the top of your list and work our way down, Duck.
Okay, so first rule is that food and drink are now banned in the play area.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I gotta tell you, from an organizer's perspective, I don't know how many times I have started an event and just stalked up and down the tables, going, get that off the table, get that off the table, get off the table, get off the table. Everyone, for some reason, they have to bring a freaking. See this? This is a bottle. This has a cap. This is not horrible. I don't like it, but it's still not horrible. But for some reason, every single event, people brought those stupid big cans of something. First off, they're always open. You can't close them. And then furthermore, they are completely off center. They're more likely to tip over because how tall they are.
It's peace tea, if people are wondering. It's peace tea. They sell that literally in the card shop that you have your events.
It wasn't just mine. They do it at yours. Yeah. They do it at everybody else's. I don't care. Everyone always has those damn cans, whether it's Peace Tea Man or it's a Monster or what have you. They always bring those stupid cans.
Yeah, I mean, people made fun of my drinks I brought in, but it was just NOS in a bottle, a see-through bottle.
Nobody made fun of that.
They made fun of it at your league.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. Because of the color of it. It's fine. It wasn't a big deal.
Anyway. So yeah, food and drinks are now banned from the play area, and I could not be happier about that. I'm very happy, as a matter of fact. So what's next?
Here's one that I don't know. On one hand, it seems good. On another hand, it seems bad. Organizers can prioritize regulars for premier events.
Well, okay. I was in a more of this situation than you were with my league when I had it.
I remember an event you had to wait for a regular one time for an hour.
I don't remember that.
Didn't you go? You went out of state, couple hour drive, and you had to wait for a regular. I thought that happened.
I don't recall that.
Huh.
I think
maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't wait for anybody. If my event says it's starting at
No, you went to somebody else's event to compete.
Yes, I did. That was
and you had to wait.
That was in Maryland. I know exactly whose league that is now. It's one I attended, and they delayed a league challenge because they wanted to wait for two brothers to show up. Mm-hmm. And this is going to sound horrible, but the two young men, when they showed up, they they had some challenges, and it was confounded by the fact that everyone was already mad that they were waiting. But when these two came in, they had behavioral problems, and it was not managed well, and they were very disruptive to everyone's games. And honestly, it was a very bad idea to wait. But no, when it comes to talking about prioritizing regulars, a big thing, and this might even impacted you in sometimes, I don't know. Let's talk about pre-releases. Pre-releases are still premier events. So if I have 30 kits, I think it's appropriate that the people that come and support that league week after week after week should get first dibs at coming to those pre-release events, because you turn people away from those type of events all the time. There's certain times where you end up with abundance of kits left over, and there's other times where you sell out. It just depends what's in them that particular cycle. That's the big thing. But also the fact that sometimes in stores like the one I was in, you have limited space. So when we would have a league cup, not so much league challenges, but league cups, we'd had to cap it at, I believe we capped ours at 28. With a league cup, sometimes 28 people that's a small number. I've been to cups where we've had 100 some odd people there.
Right.
So I think, given the opportunity, now I would not do it the day of, and that's my advice to other professors. Don't do it the day of. Have them pre-register and prepay like a week out, so that they're not, so you're not holding up your event hoping that they would show up, or they're giving you a call. Oh, we're running 20 minutes late. We'll be there, I swear. No.
I like that. Because, there's people that drive hours to go to League Cups, and imagine you drive to a League Cup and some guy that's not even there has a spot reserved because he's a regular, and you just, drove.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of, some of the more elitist groups, the snobby, borderline professional players are going to find a way to refuse entry to, new players trying to come in.
Yeah, and that's people are going to abuse this rule. It's not going to last because people are going to abuse it. That's
Right.
just the way it is. What I always like to do is because before, when we were not allowed to prioritize for locals or regulars, however you want to put it, we would have an online registration with a cap. We'd say, okay, we can't have any more than 28 people because of the size of the store. So we're going to put that online for you to purchase, pre-register and get your seats. And what we did was we actually put that link out in our group chat a day or two before we made it live on the website. And that's how we got around giving them an opportunity to do it first. But then you have the ones, well, I'm not going to have the money until the day of. Well, I'm sorry.
You're going to have to take your chances with the day of.
You're going to have to take your chances. And that is my biggest recommendation. Now that we have a rule, we're allowed to prioritize legitimately. Give them that opportunity, but not the day of, folks. Not the day of. I've had people, just for a league challenge, just because there was nothing else going on, or people have driven 2 or 3 hours just to come to a stupid challenge. And you can imagine driving that far and just be turned away because, well, Cousin Billy Bob, usually comes to these, so we're going to wait and save that seat for Cousin Billy Bob. Mm-hmm. No, sir. No, sir. Anyway. So what do you think about it, Doug? I know people are going to abuse it, like you said.
I like how there are goods in it, being able to make sure, local players get their kits for pre-releases and all that stuff, but there's also a way to refuse it. That's why, or to abuse it. It has its ups and downs, but I'm sure the shady leagues are going to be shady whether this rule's in place or not. So
shade's going to shade. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And there are plenty of shady leagues out there. Just because you go to a Pokemon League and it turns out to be like, this is not someplace I want to be, this isn't someplace I want to hang out, don't give up on it. Maybe try to see if there's anything else locally in your area. You'd be surprised. Sometimes the little dank stores are the best ones.
Yeah.
All right, so what you got next on the docket?
This is another one that directly affects something you went through. Organizers are allowed to refuse entry to players that they think pose a threat to the spirit of the game. So, like, this is somebody that maybe started swearing at an event. Maybe they stole something at an event, and
Like
Pokemon,
a pre-release kit.
like a pre-release kit. This is for any reason that, like, if they've exuded any kind of inappropriate behavior to you, like maybe they use a lewd playmat or anything like that, you can be like, hey, I don't want you playing in my tournaments.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through the channels of Pokemon to review whatever you sent them and then try to ban that player completely. You can be like, you're not welcome here. Sorry, but you know.
No, and that was a big problem I had with one event. I had an individual who thought it was appropriate to steal a pre-release kit, but what they didn't take into account is the store that we were in had some of the best surveillance cameras for a store that size, and we were able to go through and track everything, and we had them. We had them before the event was over, and all of a sudden it popped out of a backpack. Who knew? But you also have events too where people that are coming that are just jerks. You know they're coming. They're a-holes. They only show up for the events because they don't care about the league. They care about the points. That's all they care about. And they'll come in and manipulate everything, and they'll just make complete asses of themselves when things aren't going their way. And as a tournament organizer, now you have the ability to say, you know what, don't come back. Or I know you're coming in, you say, hey, I'm coming, and I'm going to bring my posse with me, and you can actually tell them in advance, hey, don't bother showing up because we're not going to let you in. I think you're going to have to be judicious about that, and it's something that's going to be open for abuse because it's going to give away for those elitist groups just to say, no, I believe he was exhibiting threatening behavior, and just get rid of people they don't like. But do you really want to go to places where you're that unwelcomed anyway?
Yeah, I would treat it as as kind of like the penalty system goes. Like I've never felt the need to, ban anybody from my league. I have to constantly remind people about language, but that's pretty much the only thing.
Yeah, like with
I've gotten people trained where I hear it and I look at them and they're like, oh, sorry.
it just takes a look.
Like, yeah. There's like two problem people, and they're getting better.
Yeah. And again, that boils down to the culture of the store too. In the store that I ran my league in, they kept it extremely family friendly, and there was no swearing in that store at all. It was ridiculous sometimes.
That's awesome. Sometimes when there's other events going on where people are playing a different game,
Magic.
Yeah.
It's Magic, but go on.
I've gone up to groups and be like, hey guys, I don't have any authority over you, but like, there's kids over here, they're trying to play, they're trying to have a good time, and you guys, the language is being really distracting for them. So if you guys don't mind.
And they're like, F you, nerd.
No, nobody said that. They didn't listen, but they didn't insult me.
Oh, I'm sure they did. They just waited till you walked away.
Oh, sure, that's fine. Whatever. I did my part.
I did my part to uphold the spirit of the game.
Right.
All right, moving on down the list.
Organizers are allowed to have another organizer fill in for them if they can't make it to an event.
Yeah, and this is something that's always actually happened, but it's just been technically against the rules. You can have another organizer fill in and take your whole, whether it be league, premier events of any kind. And the biggest problem people that did this would encounter is when they use Tom. Because whenever you sanction an event,
oh yeah,
as the organizer for that event, your pop ID is attached to it. So what would then happen is I, say I couldn't be there for whatever reason. I had Duck fill in. Well, Duck brings his laptop, pulls up Tom, tap, 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 does the whole tournament, that's fine. He goes to upload, and Pokemon.com would reject the upload. Entirely because in that text file that was being uploaded, it had his Pop ID because that is what he had to use when he created his profile on Tom. So you actually had to do a couple different things. There was a method of transferring the file, opening in it, resaving it, blah, blah, blah. Or the other method was going in and actually editing the file, which was very dangerous to do. And if you screwed it up in any minute detail, it was getting flagged by Pokemon. So the only other option was in places like Duck Store, where they would use the store computer to do Tom, would be to have the other professors log in, which I would never be comfortable doing in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think Duck would be either. So that just leaves you with trying to wing it. Now I can actually have another professor fill in for me if I can't make it. Now there was a provision to that too, Duck. What was it? I mean, did you had to let Pokemon know, or?
Yeah, you still have to, like, you have to, before you would be like, hey, I can't make it to this league, and they would either appoint somebody, like send one of their big judges, if there's one in the area, to fill in for you, or they would just cancel it.
Yeah.
It was like a way of canceling it without getting negative effects. But now you can send an approval, be like, hey, here's my buddy. He runs the league, the next town over. Can you just fill in for me for this? And then they can approve it.
So that's an excellent little thing. And it keeps you from having to do that side step. So
exactly. And you can still the tournament can still take place.
Yeah, because it's kind of a miserable thing to have the concept being that, if this one guy gets sick, or this one guy has some kind of life event happen where he can't make it to the ever so important Pokemon League, that it ruins the day of how many people were scheduled to be there.
Right.
And it also gives the league a bad rep, gives your storefront a bad rep. So it's not something you want to have happen. You never want to cancel an event, and this gives you one more avenue that you can avoid doing that.
Yeah, and players notice when you try to go an extra mile for them.
They do.
So that's definitely, kind of thing that they would appreciate.
Yeah,
help your store's reputation.
Yeah, back when I was still living up in Pennsylvania, we were very, very lucky in the group that we had locally, that we were able to draw on everybody's help for judging. And somebody was able to step up and take over my league when I left. It was from your league, so yep. I mean, it was just an ideal situation, and everybody kind of worked together. So anyway, moving on down the list.
Match records do not need to be retained after events, and they should be destroyed.
Yeah, which is a big change from before, where it used to be you had to keep everything for 3 months. I actually had a locker in the store that I was at, and I kept everything. And there was so many match slips in there.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to keep the match slips, you'd have to keep the deck lists. What else was there? I think that was it. Match slips and deck lists. And you'd have to retain those for 3 months. Now, I can destroy them and get rid of them immediately. So, thank God for that. Because I don't know of anybody who ever got requests from Pokemon to see that stuff anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we always cautioned other leagues, like, hey, you should keep these just in case, because if a player disputes their record from a tournament, then you need to be able to prove that you recorded it right.
And you have the signed match slips.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it was definitely something when new people would start leagues up and they'd come to us for advice. That was one of the big things we told them was, no, you got to keep these. Don't throw these away. It's in the bloody rule book, kid. Didn't you read it? Pokemon's got rid of that requirement, so that's good. Because again, it was there so that they could check disputed records, but they're getting to the point now where they've never actually asked anybody for them that I know of, and they're just going to say, you know what, we're going to trust our judges and be done with it.
Next is players agree to be on stream when they sign up for the tournament.
Yeah. Again, this is a problem I've encountered because we actually did do live streams at my store. As you can tell, I enjoy doing such things. So I've produced episodic television. I've done streaming. I've done podcasts, you name it. And I had everything set up with my laptop. We did commentary. We had video set up. We had multi-angle set up. It was great. For a tiny little store, you'd never suspect it. But for our League Cups, and even sometimes for our League Challenges, whoever was at Table 1 could expect to be on stream. And you would inevitably have that one person, I really don't want to be on stream. All right, well, you got to get me table 2 up here, and then you have to rearrange everything because I couldn't move the streaming equipment.
Right.
And now Pokemon's coming out and saying, you know what? If you're in the tournament, you automatically agree to it. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yep. There's an agreement in signing up for a premiere event that's like automatically assumed, and part of the agreement is to go on stream. Now, I feel like if you have somebody that's like really going to be hindered by being forced to stream, then don't make them stream.
No,
but...
as a judge, I will try to make that accommodation. But
Exactly.
I think this rule is really going to kick in when they're talking about like regionals or internationals. That's probably where this was designed for, because not a whole lot of stores that do challenges or cups are doing live streaming.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, so if like your organizer is like a big YouTuber, then they usually stream their tournaments. But that's not. It's few and far between.
And that's beneficial for Pokemon because the more free advertising they're getting, the better. So they want that to occur. There's no rules against it, and they're very happy when it does. Which is actually kind of funny, the fact that internationals and regionals, they've taken that away from the streamers that used to be doing it, and now they're doing them all themselves. It's from a marketing standpoint, it makes sense, but they're having more streams out there is not a bad thing. So for cups and challenges or whatnot, they're still want people to do this. So if you have the capability or the knowledge and the equipment and you want to give it a try as a professor, I definitely recommend it. Even if it's so simple as setting up a phone and live streaming it to your group's Facebook page so that the people that weren't there can say, dang, I wish I had been there. But so now it's automatically assumed. Now they do say that if you don't want to be on stream, you should contact the organizer in advance.
Yes.
And how was that exactly worded, Doug? Or don't you have it in front of you?
I don't have the exact wording.
Okay.
I typed up a summary list.
So if
everything,
just be aware that if you are going to any kind of premier event, whether it be a pre-release, a league cup, league challenge, internationals, regionals, what have you, just by you signing up, you have now agreed to be a participant in any streaming or promotional imaging. So you can contact the organizer in advance and say, I do not want to be on stream. And the organizer should take that into account and try to make that accommodation, but they don't have to.
Yeah, I've often wondered what the process is at like regionals when they decide who's going to go on the stream. Do they? I know they hand pick them because they'll pick like an interesting matchup if it's like 2 pros, or they'll just pick somebody whose name you're going to know.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many times they go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, you're going to play Tord. Tord's going to be on. We want Tord to be on stream, so you got to be on stream." How often is that person like?
I've actually seen the way they've done this, and what they'll do is prior to making the match announcements or making them live on like RK9, they actually put a laminated card at that table, and they just set it down and says, "This table will be on stream. Please report to the stage."
Oh, yeah, I've never seen that.
I saw that last year in Virginia. They had these big place cards. They were coming, they'd stick it in there, and I saw it because I went to take my match slip up, and I came down, and the card was still sitting there on one of the tables. And so that's how they were notifying people that they were going to be on stream, was just putting that card there. They get to their table to set up, and oh crap.
That's amazing. I could not.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd probably be fine.
Well,
one,
you drop a load in your pants when you find out you're playing Tord, and then when you get to your table, Tord's not there, but there is a piece of paper that says "Go on stage."
Oh man, now the whole world gets to see Tord beat me.
Pretty much. What's next?
Players can make a single offer to have a draw before the game starts. So it's like they're acknowledging IDs and allowing it.
They've always acknowledged IDs. I have a personal problem with IDs. I don't like it. I think it's manipulative, and I think it's for those people that are playing earnestly and trying to get to those top spots. they're being artificially excluded. So I actually have a problem with IDs, but I have been at events where the person is constantly badgering that if we just tie. I'm like, no, I want to beat your ass, and I'm going to.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to be
argument.
that guy that's like, all right, judge, he's badgering, give me the win, because that's what it is. It's not even a warning. It's over. You're yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, that's wrong. I mean, I think there's a strategic element to do it, and if it's allowed, it's dumb not to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I didn't say it's not allowed. I didn't say it's like when you're playing a first person shooter. Camping sucks, but you know what? It's a legitimate strategy. I get it. I understand it. I just don't like it.
Is that a red versus blue quote?
It technically is, but it doesn't have to be.
I got it. Going along the lines with IDs is players may discuss how to determine the outcome of a game before it were to result in a tie. Like before the game starts, you can be like, look, if we tie, neither of us are going to make day 2, or neither of us can be in the top 8. So how about if we end in a tie, we go by whoever's taking the most prize cards, or some non-random, let me repeat,
Non-random
means of determining the winner is allowed.
Yeah, it has to be non-random. People, guess what? Flipping a coin, you're both disqualified. You cannot determine the outcome of a game by random means. So please do not do this. If I see somebody other than at the very beginning of a game flipping a coin or rolling a dice, I know what you're doing. And, and I'm gonna call you on it.
I actually almost got in trouble at Philadelphia regionals. We were playing. The guy had a buzzwole down, the baby buzzwole that had the swing around attack. I did 80 more damage if you flip heads with a coin or something like that.
Okay.
And he flipped the coin and got tails, so I won. And the judge saw him flip a coin and sign the match slip. He's like, "Hey, hold on a second." We're like, "What?" You flipped the coin and shook hands.
Baby Buzz. Baby Buzz.
Yeah. I believe that was the card.
It's still funny.
Yeah, the game literally was resting on a 50% chance. Either he knocked me out and he won, or I knocked him out on my next turn and won.
Nice. So, how hard was it to convince the judge of that?
No, I mean he saw the energy on the buzzwole and he's like, okay.
He got a little excited there. He thought he had somebody. He thought he had one. Yeah. All right, Ducky. Keep going.
Before there used to be another thing to add to that is judges do not enforce informal agreements between players.
Oh,
if you come down to say you're doing prize, you say whoever takes the most prizes wins. At the end of the game, if you have more prizes than your opponent and he signs the tie, judges, that it's a tie.
Oh well, sorry for your luck, kid.
So you got to be careful. You can't really trust people.
And I have seen that happen more times than I can count.
Somebody could be like, "I'm going to make sure it comes out in my favor if it's for me to win, but I'm going to take the win away from you if you get it."
Yeah, and
very real thing.
People are very petty, and they will do that. I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen at freaking league challenges, let alone regionals. I've seen that happen at league challenges, and that where and they're not even playing for the top spots. Right. And it's I don't like these informal agreements, and that's another reason why I don't like them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's just you're putting so much trust in somebody
that you just literally met moments before.
Exactly. And if I don't know, if it's coming down to either I make it or I don't make it, I'm not going to make it either way. So I'm not going to steal it from this guy. So I might make the agreement just on the off chance that I win and he signs that I won, then I have a better chance. But I don't, you know what I mean?
I honestly, every time that somebody tries, I'm like, listen, we're just going to play this out, and whoever wins, wins. That's just it. That's all there is to it. That's just me. So if you ever look across the table and you see me, don't even bother. Keep going, Duck.
The hologram rule for the front of card sleeves was removed. So it used to say that any hologram that interferes with card information isn't allowed to be used, which technically made Ultra Pro sleeves illegal because they all have the little Ultra Pro hologram.
But I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who didn't use Ultra Pro.
I mean, lots of people use Dragon Shield. Technically, Dragon Shields are more legal, but I mean, I didn't even think about Ultra Pros when I read the rules.
Yeah,
I used Ultra Pro my entire career, so I mean, it's not like they were enforcing it anyway.
Yeah, so they just said get rid of it. Why bother?
Ultra Pro is probably the actually, sole reason that this rule got changed.
Well, it's the only one I know of that has that tiny little hologram on there. And if I had to guess, I would say there was some overzealous judge somewhere.
Oh my gosh,
who yanked the sleeves off of every single card in a tournament. And there was an uproar. I guarantee you that's what happened. Without having an official word from Pokemon, I can't think of any other reason why they finally decided to yank that off. Is someone went overboard.
That very well could be what happened. Another rule, I forgot to type this out, but I don't know if this changed or if it's always been this way, but they say that if your card has an image on it, the border of the card has to be the same on all sides. So if you have a Pokemon image on your sleeve and it's touching the edges and like one arm's over here and one arm's over here, the border of the card is not identical the whole way around, so it's not technically legal.
But they're the ones that made them.
Most of them do have a little border around the outside.
Yeah, it's usually silver.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know how many sleeves. I've never looked for this when I've considered if a sleeve is legal. So I don't remember if it was an official rule or not, before.
I don't recall that. Because typically it had to be either completely solid color or it had to be an official Pokemon sleeve, which were complete trash. And if you ever used official Pokemon sleeves in a tournament, you're full.
Right.
Yeah, the only way it could have happened is if they made a damn thing.
Yep. If they made a sleeve that's illegal, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna start looking when at regionals and stuff. When I at the booths, they always have those fancy little sleeves.
Well, they always sell in the Japanese ones too. So
right. Yeah, I'm gonna start looking at those sleeves to see if they're legal or not. Like if there's a flower petal that's touching the edge of the sleeve, it's not legal. That's crazy.
You keep us posted, Duck, and we want to see pictures.
Yeah. Oh, I will. I'll start taking pictures then.
Okay, keep going.
For Worlds and Internationals, players are always allowed to use English cards as well as the cards in the country the tournament is in, or their home country.
So pretty much anything they damn well want.
Technically. If an American player goes to Japan, they can use English. Well, that's a bad example. If you're from Europe, you can basically use any card in any tournament.
Pretty much.
Well, if a European player comes to America, they can't use Japanese cards, but they can use all the European languages.
They can use anything but Japanese.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
If an American player goes to Japan, they can use Japanese cards, but they can't use like French or German.
Yeah, they can't. I think it's just to essentially. I know this obscure language that cards are printed in. I'm going to use this just to try to screw with someone.
Maybe.
I other than that, I really don't understand it. I know that when I was at Worlds last year, and there were people playing with. I played in this one side event where I was playing a guy that had Japanese cards. I was playing with a guy that had French cards. It was luckily I was very, very familiar with the sets, so I understood. There was a couple cards where I'm like, I don't know what that card is, and luckily the guy had the French cards. He was able. I'm not sure if. I know they weren't speaking French, and I know they weren't speaking Japanese, but they were communicating.
Oh.
So he was translating for every. It was weird little thing, and it was very fun. Me and my oldest son were both in that. It was like four man pod side event, and it was very fun. But it was definitely strange having all these different cards, and then people that I'm not even playing the game with have to translate.
Right.
But it was a unique experience.
Huh. That sounds very interesting. I went to Worlds and played in their open, and I only played people that spoke English.
Well, the Open was pretty much walk-ons.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're going to get mostly English speakers because everyone is going to be locals for the most part, or people just entering the Open so they can get a pass. Because spectators'
Oh, yeah.
passes were at a premium.
Yeah, I remember. That was crazy.
Keep going, Ducky.
Judge Ball is a real official thing in the rulebook now.
It doesn't say Judge Ball though.
No, it's
It
not.
does not. It doesn't actually say the word Judge Ball, but Judge Ball
But
is
that's
now.
what I've been calling it for years.
Yeah.
So if a player is playing one of those decks where they only have 4 basics, and they're getting mulligan after mulligan after mulligan after mulligan, after 8, officially now, the judge can come over and flip over. They don't have to. They can flip over the top card.
Whoa, hang on. You're missing a piece of that.
What's the piece of that?
They have to shuffle.
Well, yeah, if they're going mulligan and mulligan and mulligan, they're
But
shuffling.
I'm saying
their
that
deck.
the judge has to shuffle. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. The judge shuffles the deck,
Mhm.
then flips over the top card until a basic is revealed, and then the player gets their mulligans.
No, no, that's wrong. They basically flip it until they find a card, and then I think the number is 6.
Yeah. The opponent gets their mulligans,
Mhm.
their 8 cards if they want, and then the other person sets their basic in the face down in the position and draws 6 cards, then does their prizes,
Yeah.
and then gameplay resumes. It's called judge mandated progression,
Yes.
I think. Or
That's right.
Judge
No.
enforced progression.
Judge enforced progression. So yeah, you got it right. But essentially, it's what we've been doing for years in the judge.
I've
ball.
been doing it.
It's the judge ball.
Yeah. Like I said, my roll is 10.
Yeah, it's like this is getting old. Give me that.
It's gonna speed up gameplay a little bit.
Quite a bit, because you're not seeing a lot of those decks right now. But years ago, not years ago, I'd say 2 years ago, we saw a lot of quad decks, like Quad Lapras, for example, where that was the only 4 Pokemon in the whole bloody deck, and there was a lot of energy cards, and you were just, okay, come on, let's go.
Quad Sylveon.
Quad Sylvia, shut up. Yeah, but there was 8 Pokemon, and actually there was 10, but I digress. I had to have the Eevee. I had to have the Eevees too, and I had a couple in there just thrown in for good measure for a couple of little perks.
Decklist errors have been eased up, and I wonder if this is from the last internationals where the dude got a game loss in the top 8.
Yeah. He got bumped out of the top 8 because I submitted that deck list as a joke.
Yeah. Oh, I was just kidding about the amount of energy in my deck.
Yeah, which you're in. I think he kind of deserved what he got, but
It's dumb, but they can't allow that because of what it would imply to other players.
Yeah.
They need to set a precedent.
So what's the rule change?
Minor errors before, if you had even one card messed up, like say you had one card off and you had too many energy because you didn't know if somebody was going to let you borrow that card or something. You had one card off. That's a minor error, and now it's just a warning. They used to give you a game loss.
Yeah,
or
it used to be an automatic game loss. It was a gameplay major. And
yeah, right.
It was a gameplay major. It was a game loss. You could continue in the event, but if you had like an extra Jirachi, the Jirachi had to come out and be replaced with a basic energy.
Right. Or yeah, if you said you had like 3 Jirachi and you only had 2 and an extra energy, or
if you said you had 2 and you had 3.
And you had 3, yeah, then the Jirachi would have to become a basic energy of your choice, and you would get a game loss. Now for an error that they deem minor, it's just going to be a warning. And then if it's like a severe error, like you had 1 Pokemon and 59 energy in your deck, you still get a game loss for that.
Yeah, it is a judgment call. In what constitutes there's no real directive in what constitutes a major and a minor. Uh, judges are going to have to enter into the little cabal of the Pokemon professors forums and come up with a consensus on that, and they will. A lot of times, people during the events will keep up the Pokemon professors Discord and they'll try to get a group consensus on something. A lot of times, it's more arguing than anything, but hopefully that it comes. I wish they'd have a little bit more guidance on what constituted the major and the minor, but we'll just have to see what the community ends up coming up with.
Speaking of major and minor errors, is now they're also trying to push that this is a rule that I don't fully understand. So forgive me. We'll have to wait till it's actually interpreted and enforced by judges higher up than I am. They want every tournament to be held at the same caliber, whether it's Worlds top 8 or the final championship of Worlds, or if it's a small tournament at a league.
So what that means, I believe, is we used to have tiered events.
Yep.
Where in a tier 1 event, this would mean boom, it's a major. That's it. End of story.
Exactly.
But at league challenges or even pre-releases, we had more leeway where we could use those as educational moments. And what Pokemon is saying now is we're going to enforce the rules at all of our events equally, not just at the top tiered events.
And I think this is probably because almost every top tier event we get, somebody gets penalized in the top 8 or in the finals of this huge tournament. And everybody's like, they worked so hard to get there. Why would you ruin it for them because of one small mistake? But it's like, this is where you need to perform the best. You're expected to be better than all the other players.
Well, and the fact that, if you have a league that is run very lax and they're oh, don't worry about it, and they're doing things in a very relaxed way, and they're not enforcing the rules as they would at a regionals, for example. When that player now goes to their first regional event, and all of a sudden they're getting penalized because they didn't learn how to properly play the game.
Let me just put a warning out there to other judges. It's quite haunting when one of your players goes to a regionals and they get a penalty for something that you noticed and chose not to say something about.
Yeah.
I had players come from another card game, professionally playing the Dragon Ball Z Super card game, right? 2 brothers, very, very good, immediately understood Pokemon, immediately started winning tournaments. I noticed that they didn't shuffle quite, as long as you should in Pokemon. But I'm like, they came from other card games. It's fine. In those card games, you don't shuffle the deck hardly ever. There's not a lot of searches. Pokemon, you're searching constantly. So You're constantly looking at the order of your cards. It's very important to properly randomize the deck, more so than those other games. Well, I noticed they didn't shuffle, up to par. And they go to a regionals, and one of them gets a game loss in round 2 for not insufficient randomization. And I feel so bad. And ever since then, I make sure people know, hey, it's not that huge of a deal here. But if you ever go to a bigger tournament than, this little store, they're going to give you a penalty for this. So why don't we just kind of, I gave you a warning, and try to remember to fix this in the future.
Yeah. And even for my small events, even for pre-releases, I still printed off the penalty checklist just so that I could show them this is what's going to happen. A lot of times for the warnings, whether you submit them or not, that's on you. But you need to treat the small events just like you would be treated at the large events, so that they know what to expect, so that there's not that huge learning curve that they have the first time they walk into a room and they see 300 people sitting at tables getting ready to play.
Yeah, when I started doing tournaments at my league, I had in my head, we're going to try to resolve everything, pretty chill, low pressure event. I'm going to try not to give game losses or prize penalties or any of that. Let's just try to be civil about it. We'll figure it out. And then every week there was some kind of small mistake people were making where, it would be an irreversible. There's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. You guys just got to shuffle and pull random cards. I don't feel comfortable letting you do that. But, I also try to put this precedent that I'm not giving game losses. So it, was completely irreparable. Or, it was such a stressful situation most of the time. Then I started enforcing prize penalties, and guess what? It's been months since I've had to give a penalty out.
Yeah, it just
They're like, oops.
yeah, once they start realizing that, a lot of times what will happen is either A, they'll straighten up, or B, they'll say, okay, how do we fix this without telling the judge?
Hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
And they will. Okay, you have anything else?
Um, just a very small one. Unlimited format. For cards that
Ooh.
are reprinted or like have a new version, they're always considered their new version. And cards that have received cards that where the text changed but they did not receive an errata, those cards are illegal.
Yeah. So, where if you have a card that was printed in black and white and was reprinted in Ultra Prism, I'm just pulling stuff out of my
Yeah.
butt. The whatever text is on that Ultra Prism card, you can still play the black and white card, but the text that is on the Ultra Prism card is the one you have to play by.
Yeah. A good example of this is computer search. You can use computer search in unlimited format, even if it's the base set computer search, but it's still considered an A spec because it's an A spec in black and white.
Yeah. And what can you give us a quick rundown on the A spec?
A spec is a card you're only allowed to have one A spec in your deck. They have computer search, discard 2 cards, and search your deck for any card you want. That's
It
just
was
they're all really strong abilities. That's the best one by
yeah,
far.
it was the black and white version of Ultra Prisms.
Right. Or yeah. The star cards or
Yeah.
whatever.
So,
Prism cards.
but really, I mean, how often do you see an unlimited tournament?
Nah. Only for people that want people to like play with, like just bring whatever cards they have and try to play that way. But you're not going to learn how to play the game if you're trying to play with base set cards. It's too different now.
Yeah.
So
No, like for
I never
my
did
standard
anything like that.
for my standard league play, we played in expanded. We didn't play in unlimited. We played in expanded. But for our tournaments, it was always standard. The only reason we did expanded was again so that people could play with whatever cards they had when they were first starting out.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried to get them to get up to speed, and that's why we encouraged them by having the standard premier events. That was my thought process anyway. It seemed to work okay.
Oh yeah, there's never a problem there. I've seen somebody try to sanction an unlimited tournament, and they're trying to get all these people to go, and I'm like, it's gonna take one jerk that has old cards, and have a turn 1 game win.
Yeah, well, that, and I don't think you can sanction a premier event as an unlimited.
It ended up that event was not sanctioned, but it was.
Now, yeah, you can have an event, but it can't be a sanctioned premier event.
Yeah, it looked sanctioned. It tricked people.
Well, we've seen that before too.
Yeah.
Moving on.
That's it. That's it for the TCG rule updates.
So it's a pretty big update. Let's face reality.
Is,
that is a big update. It's not something you see from Pokemon that often, and especially mid-season, which again, the season's pretty much dead at this point.
Yeah.
It's a wash.
Yeah.
For those of you that haven't heard, the venue in London that was technically still is scheduled for the World Championship is now a hospital. It's been converted It's been converted into a makeshift hospital at this point. So the likelihood of that event getting cleaned up is low. I don't see Worlds happening this year. That's just my.
Probably not.
I don't see it.
If the Olympics aren't even happening, I doubt they're going to get Pokemon Worlds together.
Yeah. A lot of judges I'm seeing are transitioning to online for their leagues just to keep everybody active, and that's a great thing. I don't have an issue with that. I think it's a very good idea. They're using PTCGO in some cases. Some places are trying to use Discord with video and use the actual cards. I think that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult to do. PTCGO is free. Just go with that way, folks. That's my advice to you on there. So that wraps up the TCG front for us. What else do you have? Anything for Masters or Go or anything?
Just Pokemon Go. They are trying to implement a way for you to play the game and virtually visit Pokestops. That way you can actually play the game while you're stuck at home.
Yeah, because I mean, that's Pokemon Go made in excess of $1 million a day at one point.
Yeah.
That has since dropped off dramatically, I'd imagine. But they're trying everything they can right now to keep people that are sitting at home on their butts with nothing better to do engaged, and they can't go out and walk and hit Pokestops. So they're coming up with ways that you'll be able to virtually do things and still spend your money on Pokecoins.
Yep. They are also there's that Team Rocket research that's been going on for a couple months where you get to do try to get a legendary if you complete the research.
Mm-hmm.
This month for March it was the Entei month, and they've chosen to move that back to April as well. So they're gonna
get another chance.
Yeah, because obviously your chances might have got sucked away.
Yeah, may have. But I think that's all we have for this week, Duck.
Pretty much.
Outstanding. Well, you can always catch us on my Twitch channel for our live recordings. It's the twitch.tv/the_raspberry01, which happens to also be my Twitter and Facebook account names. So you can find me on there. You can also find us on Facebook at Mount Moon Podcast. You can find Duck on Twitter at Blue Duck Gold Duck, and that is Blue Duck Gold Duck without the E. Where else can we find you, Duck? Because you made a slight comeback to Twitch and then you disappeared again.
Yeah, it didn't go well, and I'm still super busy. I don't know how much I'm gonna throw at Twitch at the moment. I might get another motivation sometime, but for the time being, it's kind of just gonna be chill.
Well, you can
stream if I want, but I'm not trying to
You can always jump on my stream and we can do shenanigans in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that was fun.
But
watch that video.
It's funny. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's called Animal Crossing Shenanigans. You'll hear a very off-color duck. I'll tell you that way.
Yeah, blue duck, green duck, red duck.
Something like that.
That didn't go the way it did.
No, it didn't go at all. But you can also go to our YouTube channel, which is, if you just search for the Mount Moon Crew, you also find not only our shenanigans, you're going to find archived episodes of the Mount Moon Review podcast, as well as our brand new show, the Untitled Anime Show, where we take a series or a movie and watch the whole thing, or force Duck to watch it, and then we review it and give us our opinions and our scores on whether you should go watch this right now, put it in your queue, or just forget we ever told you about it. We have an episode dropping this week, and that is going to be our review of the entire series of the Saga of Tanya the Evil. And that was one I made Duck watch, and he didn't hate. I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you what he thought of it, but I'll say he didn't hate it. But you have to watch the review this week. That should drop on Thursday. And Duck, do you have anything else you want to tell the fun folks out there in podcast land?
That's it.
Excellent. Get us out of here.
All right, guys. Until next time, just remember, if it's too good to be blue, it's probably gold.
Have a week.
Just because your card is magic, you think you're safe because you killed my life orb. Baby, do you dare to not flinch? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark pulse. I know you're gonna throw. You're gonna throw a star. But I got that lucky chance. There's no critical hits.